guys, welcome to Craft Classy. I'm Carolyn and today we're going to be making something different from the sort of things I usually make. I saw the gray and white mop head from Dollar Tree and thought, that's a braided beard. So we're going to be making this Viking gnome today, and you can get all of these items from Dollar Tree. I used everything from Dollar Tree except I didn't want to use the color options of felt that Dollar Tree had, so I got my felt from Walmart. Even so, this gnome cost me well under $10 to make, and if you do a quick search online for these types of gnomes, you will see just how much you will save. This little guy is so fun to make, so let's get started. This gnome is completely customizable to the color scheme and type of gnome that you want to make, but you will need a few basic things. You will need a pair of socks from Dollar Tree, a filler for the socks. I got a bag of beans, dry beans from the Dollar Tree, and I have this pillow fill here left over from another project. You will also need something for the beard. I used this mop head from Dollar Tree, and you will need something to make clothes out of, and I'm using this felt. You will also need something for the nose, and I am using a wooden bead. I've seen other people use ping pong balls and cover them in pantyhose. I mean, you can get creative and use whatever you think would work well. I'm cutting off the top of this sock and I'm going to fill it with our filler, and we're going to be using the top of that sock later to cut in half and use as the arms. The reason you want to use beans or rice or something heavier in the bottom of your sock is that you don't want your gnome to be top heavy and to just fall over. This weighted bottom will keep the gnome standing up and keep him sturdy. This sock is going to be quite stretchy, so as you're filling the sock, you're going to be molding the body to the width that you want. You can really pack stuff in there and make him really plump, or you can make him a more slender cylinder. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to use a rubber band to tie up, tie up the top here. I got these rubber bands from Dollar Tree, and later I will come back in and tie it around it with some twine as well, just for extra durability. I'm going to go ahead and paint these self-adhesive half beads that I got from Dollar Tree, and they're red, but I want them to be gray to resemble a nail head. So I'm going to go ahead and paint these now because I know I'll be using them later for embellishment. You can use the regular white mop head from Dollar Tree, or if you have a piece of fur, faux fur laying around that you would want to use, you can use whatever you'd like for the beard. Now, because this sock is quite thin now that it's stretched out, I'm going to go ahead and double up on the socks because I don't want to be able to see the beans through the sock. So if you put a second sock on, then that's going to hide, where you can see the beans inside and where the beans stop and the pillow fill begins. I got this felt from Walmart and it is sheets of felt that are adhesive on the back. If you don't use adhesive felt, you'll just be gluing as you go. You'll see me sometimes just using the stickiness of the felt to stick it onto the gnome, but I go back later and put some hot glue just to make it a more permanent hold. Now I'm just using the width of this ruler here as my guide to make two wider strips and then one more narrow strip. And this is going to be for the kilt on the gnome. Using the width of the ruler again, I'm going to mark out notches um, on our two wider strips. And this way I can just give some detail to the kilt. I'm going to cut little triangles just so it's not a straight across cut and it's going to have, the kilt's going to have some character. When you cut out the notches out of the second strip, you're going to want them to be offset from the first strip and not be in the same exact location. Now I'm cutting the smaller strip that's just going to be the top trim piece to finish off the kilt, and I didn't put any notches in it. I believe it was 3/4 of an inch wide. And the larger pieces, I believe, were a little over an inch. Again, I'll be going back later and putting some hot glue underneath this felt. If you don't have self-adhesive felt, you will be gluing as you go. When you take apart your mop pad, for this particular mop pad, I found it best just to cut the strands off of the mop pad. I tried at first to pull them out. I realized that it was one long strand, um, but save yourself some headache and just cut off the um, the individual strands and not try to pull them out as one whole piece. I haven't ever disassembled the other white mop head yet, so I don't know how that goes, but you just trim it up to whatever length you want your beard to be. Now I have this little glass bowl from Dollar Tree here, and this is going to be the base of our hat. I needed something that was kind of a dome shape, so this worked out perfectly. You can get a pack of these, 3 or 4 of them for $1 at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to take the same color of felt that I used for the kilt, and I'm going to cut out these large petal shapes. And then I'm just going to glue them down to the glass bowl. Um, I was just going to wrap the bowl as is, but then I realized that the bottom of the bowl was a little too flat and I needed it to be domed. So I just added some scraps from the beard to puff up the top as a little bit of a filler up there. I ended up using 4 large petal-shaped pieces of felt, and I'm going to come back and cover the seams with the trim pieces of a darker colored felt. These trim pieces are about 1/2 inch wide, and it's going to cover up and make our hat look more finished. The piece that I'm putting around the bottom of the helmet, I keep calling it a hat, it's a helmet. I'm going to kind of press it around so that it hides the underneath of the helmet to where you can see the glass. So I just kind of pull on it and glue it to cover the evidence that that is a glass bowl. I'm just freehanding the shape of a horn to put onto the helmet to make it look more like a Viking helmet. I just freehanded this, but you can certainly find this shape online if you did an image search. You're going to need 4 total because I wanted to double up the felt so that it was stiffer and would hold up on its own and not be so floppy. Now we're just going to hot glue our wood bead nose to the gnome, and I'm attaching it to the sock underneath the beard. Whenever you move the beard aside to glue the nose, you might expose some empty spots, and then you can fill in more pieces of beard if you need to. I decided to tie using a hair tie from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to give him somewhat of a ponytail in his beard. And I'm going to use this piece of bath rug. I'm sure you all have seen this used in other craft videos. I just cut a strip of it and then I rounded the ends. And we're just making him a little bit of a shoulder wrap. Instead of a shirt, it's sort of a collar or a wrap for him that sort of resembles fur. If you have a piece of fur, that would work great as well. I'm using this other hair tie here just to connect the ends of the piece of rug to slip it on over the gnome, but you certainly could just hot glue this shoulder wrap right onto the gnome. And now we're taking the end, or the top, of one of the socks, and we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to make a little sleeve here and hot glue it. And it doesn't matter how your seam looks because it will be hidden. We're going to put that part up against the body of the gnome, and so you won't be able to see it. So you're just going to glue one end shut so that you can stuff it with some filler. Now just putting some hot glue along the inside of the top of the sleeve, you're going to put your wood bead there to be his hand. And again, you could make a mitten, a glove of some sort for him out of felt. In any of these parts of this gnome you could customize to whatever you think would be best. And I would love to hear down in the comments below how you would make him differently. Now here are those half beads from the Dollar Tree that we painted earlier, and I'm just going to line them up along our trim just to give his helmet a more finished look. You could certainly stop here, but I decided I wanted to make a couple of weapons for our Viking. And so right here I'm just taking this flat bead. I don't know where I got it from. I've always thought it's kind of ugly, but I thought that it would work well. The underneath side of it would work well to stick in the center of his shield that I'm making. I'm just going to take two rounds of felt and a round of cardboard or cardstock, just some sort of stiff paper to sandwich in the middle of our two pieces of felt to make the shield more stiff so that it won't be too bendy and will hold up and not fall, flop over while he's holding it. Now I'm just freehanding a general shape of an axe head, and I'm going to cut this out and use that shape to cut out the second one, and then we will sandwich the dowel in between the two pieces. This self-adhesive felt is very sticky, and if you are sticking the sticky side to another sticky side, you're not going to need to glue it because you can hardly get it apart if you accidentally press it together and you need to get it apart. It's pretty sticky stuff. But in the important places, I'm coming back and adding some hot glue. And now I'm just going to take a piece of this leather that I have, this leather ribbon, and I'm just going to make 2 X's to put on either side of our axe head. I'm using another hair tie from the Dollar Tree just to create a loop on the back of the shield, so it'll be something that we can slip over his arm to keep the shield there. And there we have our completed gnome. I just love how he turned out. And you could make him any which way you want. You could style his beard different ways. I mean, you don't even have to give him arms or the shoulder wrap or the weapons. I mean, you could just make the helmet, give him a beard and a nose, and call it a day. You could keep going with it and get more detailed with it. The sky's the limit, but this was really fun to make. Don't know if I'll ever make another one, but I love that I gave this a try, and I know a couple of people that would love to have this. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see new videos every week. Have an awesome day.